Turning to Ukraine, we all want the bloodshed to end, and I strongly welcome President Trump's continued efforts to bring about a just and lasting peace. This is vital for resolving this conflict, and we support the United States in leading this effort. And as negotiations proceed, we cannot waver in our commitment to Ukraine. Every single day, Russian missiles and drones cause deaths and destruction, leaving civilians without heat, light, and water as winter approaches. Ukraine's security is closely linked to our own. Our support must continue unabated to help Ukraine defend itself today and deter tomorrow, for their own sake and for ours.
As the war grinds on, Moscow is restating its justification, claiming NATO's advance into Ukraine cornered Russia and triggered the conflict.
We're hearing a lot of belligerent statements from NATO, but the NATO Secretary General has really outdone himself this time. He said that Europe needs to prepare for a war like the one our grandfathers went through.
Well, this is probably a statement from a representative of a generation that has already forgotten what World War II was like. And, well, Mr. Rutte did live in the Netherlands, after all. I studied in the Netherlands at one time, and there, the Dutch themselves would tell me about the terrible hardships they endured during the fascist occupation, how a few of their windows were broken, and how awful that was for them. They were completely serious about it, and at the same time, the Dutch really don't like the Germans because of that discomfort, but they don't know what the true horrors of war are. They have no idea, and unfortunately, Mr. Rutte makes such irresponsible statements simply because he doesn't understand what he's talking about. We, thank God, grew up in a country where the memory of what happened, of how terrible it was, and of what we managed to do to save Europe from fascism is carefully preserved.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the presence of NATO specialists within Ukraine's state structures, coupled with the start of Western weapons deliveries, directly contributed to what Russia calls its special military operation. Speaking in an interview with Russian journalist Pavel Zarubin aired on Sunday, Peskov claimed these developments posed a direct threat to ethnic Russians living in Ukraine and to Russia's broader national security interests. According to Peskov, NATO personnel were not merely advising from afar, but had effectively embedded themselves within Ukrainian government institutions. He argued that this, along with the steady flow of Western arms, altered the strategic balance in the region. Quote, all of this together triggered the decision to launch the special military operation, Peskov said, adding that Moscow viewed the situation as part of a wider geopolitical challenge rather than an isolated regional dispute. Peskov also criticized Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, saying he initially came to power on promises of peace but later abandoned dialogue. He accused Kyiv of repeatedly violating the Minsk agreements, which were designed to de-escalate tensions in eastern Ukraine, and of taking steps that gradually pushed the country closer to open conflict. According to the Kremlin, these actions undermined diplomatic solutions and made confrontation inevitable.
We firmly insist on reaching a comprehensive package of agreements for a truly lasting and enduring solution. This involves establishing a stable, long-term peace with robust security guarantees for all the involved parties. And our negotiations with the President of the United States and his team are focused precisely on this, finding a long-term settlement to eliminate the root causes of this crisis. But as can be seen from the statement I quoted by the official representative of the German government, Western Europe is only thinking about achieving a ceasefire, catching their breath, and then once again preparing. President Zelensky and his current regime for the ongoing war against the sovereign Russian Federation. We have carefully submitted additional, comprehensive proposals to our American colleagues, which specifically concern the vital aspects of collective security guarantees. We understand that when discussing security guarantees, we cannot limit ourselves to just Ukraine. In other words, this is yet another return to the unfortunate logic of Zelensky's so-called peace formula, which singularly pursued the sole aim of focusing all attention on actively supporting the current neo-Nazi regime, without fundamentally changing its inherent essence, without altering its established policy of suppressing religious freedoms and fundamental human rights, and completely excluding the legitimate and vital security interests of the Russian Federation from any meaningful dialogue. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov offered similar views while addressing lawmakers, saying Moscow recognizes and welcomes efforts by U.S. President Donald Trump to pursue a political and diplomatic resolution to the war. However, Lavrov stressed that any lasting settlement would require confronting what Russia considers the root causes of the conflict, issues President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly outlined, including NATO expansion and Ukraine's security alignment. Lavrov warned that without addressing these concerns, peace initiatives would remain superficial and unsustainable. Lavrov also placed blame on European governments, accusing them of obstructing peace efforts by encouraging Ukraine to continue fighting. He claimed Europe was pushing Kyiv to wage war until the last Ukrainian, driven not only by ideology but also by financial pressures. They are short of money, and that is now influencing their political agenda, Lavrov said. He further cautioned that any formal European military presence inside Ukraine would provoke a direct response from Moscow. Despite his sharp rhetoric, Lavrov insisted Russia has no desire for a broader war with Europe. He said Moscow's priority remains safeguarding its external security and protecting Russian-speaking communities and cultural rights abroad, including freedom of religion and the use of the Russian language. These principles, he told Russia's Federation Council, underpin the Kremlin's long-term strategy. At the United Nations, Russia's ambassador, Vasily Nebenzia, offered an equally bleak assessment of the prospects for peace. Speaking at a Security Council meeting requested by European states, Nebenzia said hopes for a quick resolution were fading due to Europe's approach to the conflict. He questioned the judgment of European leaders and accused Ukraine of turning it into a bargaining chip in a larger geopolitical struggle between Russia and the West. After listening to the speeches of our European colleagues in this room, questions about the sanity of external European elites really arise more and more, and hopes for a quick peace in Ukraine seem more and more illusory. The diplomat further highlighted that the Kyiv regime has turned Ukraine into a bargaining chip in a geopolitical confrontation between the West and Russia. These remarks come as Washington pushes a renewed peace initiative. Since mid-November, the United States has been promoting a new proposal aimed at ending the war. On December 2nd, President Putin met U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, President Trump's son-in-law, at the Kremlin to discuss the plan. Russian officials confirmed the talks were part of ongoing efforts to explore diplomatic options, even as deep divisions over the conflict persist.